Welcome back, Crochet Piece community. Let's go over the single crochet. So now that we have our chain, single crochet is done by inserting and building on this chain stitch. So we're going to go into the second chain from the hook to start. Now, to be clear, this is how the yarn and the hook are joined. It's not an actual chain. This would be our first chain, and then this would be our second chain. Sometimes I like to pull it a little bit so you can really identify where the next insertion point is located. So this is the first one. This is going to be the second one, and that's where we're going to go into. Okay, so we're going to insert it right there, like so, into the insertion point. And now it looks like you have 2 loops on. Then you're going to yarn over, so basically just bringing your yarn across the hook and bring it back. And then it looks like you have 3 loops on your hook. We're going to take this middle loop off. By pulling up on our work, let that top one go into the mouth of the crochet hook, and then bring that middle one over the head of the crochet hook, like so. And now we have 2 loops on. The next step is yarning over once again, and then bringing it back. And then we're going to take these 2 bottom loops off of our crochet hook by lifting it up and pulling the yarn, both loops, over the head of the crochet hook, like so. And that's one chain worked. That's one single crochet completed in one chain location. Okay, so let's do it again. So we're going to go to the next one. It could be tricky trying to figure out where the next one is, so you kind of have to really pay attention to your stitches so you can identify, you know, what they look like when they're worked. So you see these loops are coming out of that hole, so we worked that one. So we're going to go into this one. This loop is kind of tight, but I'm going to insert first, yarn over and pull it back, take that middle piece off and over the head, bring it back down. Once again, yarn over and pull it back, bottom 2 loops off and bring it over the head. And that's what you got to do the whole time to create a single crochet. Okay, insert into the next insertion point. So at first you should always just focus on concept, right? Understanding how to do the stitch, the steps. Then you can focus on the technique. Is the structure right? Do the stitches look right? In the very beginning of the single crochet, it looks like a little blob. The most important thing you want to do is make sure that you're kind of keeping your work stationary. So, you know, you see how I'm using this hand to support my chain. I'm not just letting it hang like that. And that's going to help me make sure my stitches are even and consistent. So here's my next insertion point. Again, if you need to see, you can kind of pull it apart. This one is kind of tight, so it's not trying to come apart. But you know you worked this one. You're going to go right into here. You see how it's right where that V kind of is. Insert, yarn over, pull it back, take the middle piece off and over, and then again yarn over and take both bottom pieces off. And that's it. You're going to keep doing that the entire row. Insert, yarn over, pull it back, middle piece off, yarn over, both bottom pieces off. Okay, next I'm going to show you how to finish this and then how to do a single crochet in just the back bump. So continuing to finish, we're going to insert, yarn over, middle off, yarn over, bottom 2 off. So you see how I hold my crochet hook. This is how I always do it. I'm always using the letter T formation. You see my stitches, they start to come down my crochet hook like so. My working end of yarn is always on my right. My stitches and stuff that I work and my tail are on my left. And so I call this my letter T formation. And so, and you see how I'm supporting this yarn, and that's helping me to be able to keep everything even and to be able to identify where's my next place. Also, it's the yarn that I'm using right now, which I mentioned, the Burnett Maker yarn. It is great for learning. Okay, so there's that, and I'm going to continue going all the way down. Okay, so let's pause here for a moment, and I'm going to show you how to do the single crochet in the back bump. So what do I mean by the back bump? Well, this is the front of your chain, and then if you flip it over, this is the back of your chain. So these are these little things that are sticking out, those are the back bumps. Okay, you see in the front you'll see the V's. It looks kind of like a braid, but in the back instead you'll see these little bumps that are protruding out a little bit if you take a look like that. Okay, so it's a little tricky to get into the back bump sometimes, but it makes your piece look so even. It looks like so clean. This will be your finished side. So that's why I like doing it. So you just flip the piece over like so. This is the first stitch. This is going to be the second stitch. Okay. And so what I sometimes do is bend it in half so it kind of sticks up a little bit. But getting in here, I'm going to tell you, it's like a rites of passage, honey, into crochet. But it's beautiful once you do it. And you just slip your crochet hook underneath it, and this becomes the insertion point instead of the V in the middle. And that's it. Everything else is exactly the same. You just change your insertion point. So here's my next one right there sticking up. I'm gonna go in, and it's a lot easier with this yarn to do. Some of the others not so much. So I'm just really going in all of those. If you have to, you can lift them up. You know, I'm just tucking it under like that and going into that back bump on all of them. Okay, and I want to show you what it looks like when we get to the end. Okay, so this is what it looks like when I got to the end of crocheting a single crochet row in the back bump only, right? If you look here, this is the chain stitch that I worked on top of, and then this is the top of the stitch that I did, the single crochet. So see how clean it looks? And that's why I like doing that. So you only need to do that for that one row. Now let's go into how to do the single crochet on top of a foundation chain row and the first row. So this is the first row, right? And we need to do now what I call the subsequent rows. Every row after the first row, the insertion point changes a little bit. So remember I just talked with you about either you can do it on the front, in the middle, on the V, or the back, the bump, right? Now when you get to the end, something that's extremely important is that turning chain. So you need to yarn over and do the appropriate number of turning chains. For this one, we're going to do 1 turning chain. And then you're going to turn your work so that now you can go back down the other way. And we're doing 1 turning chain so that this start of the row can be the same height as the rest. So now, again, there's several different insertion points that you could choose, you know, when you're doing this stitch. For beginners, I recommend that you use the most common one, which is, so this is the chain I just did, the turning chain. It doesn't count as a stitch in this case or anything. It's just there as a bookmarker. Here would be the first stitch, right? So you want to go, as a beginner, you want to go and turn that over to the side where you can see there's a hole underneath that V. That's your insertion point. So you're going to take your hook and insert, and then now it looks like you have a loop and then a V on. This is considered one piece. And you're just going to yarn over, pull it back, take that V, that middle, off, and then take off, yarn over again and take off the bottom 2. Let's find the next one. Here's the next one. There's that middle V. You're going to look to the side of it. There's that hole underneath. That's your insertion point. You're going to insert, yarn over, pull back, take that middle piece off, and over the head of the crochet hook, and then yarn over and pull off the bottom 2. Okay? And you're going to keep doing that all the way down. So insert, so you find your next one, find that hole right there. There's our insertion point. Yarn over, pull that back, take that middle piece off, which is that V, the whole stitch, the head of the stitch, then yarn over and pull off the bottom 2. Okay? All right. I'll show you one other trick. A new insertion point, one other insertion point. Okay, so the next insertion point that you could choose is the middle here. You could actually go in the middle, right? Instead of going and putting the whole V on like this, you could just go in the middle and put the back piece of that V on. Okay, and this is called back loop only. Okay, back loop only. And it creates a texture in the design. So you can see it kind of looks a little different. Creates a little bit of texture. You can do front loop only as well. So just in the front. And some patterns will call for that. Okay, so they'll say front loop only, back loop only, and this is what they mean. And they do it for different reasons. Okay, so yeah, you can alternate if you like. And again, sometimes it just gives the piece a nice texture. And then you can just go under both. Okay, so that's it for now. Keep up the good work and happy crocheting.